definitely very nice to find, and we might be seeing an early Turtle Rock play. It's happened in both their seeds so far. Are we going to find the bow again?
Xirtanul picking up the big key, which is actually really useful. Having to take the default route and actually get this chest, which is always a small key, regardless of whether you're playing Key Sanity, Open, or Standard.
I did not know that it would be a key regardless, even in Key Sanity. I thought in Key Sanity it might have been different.
I confirmed that just the other day. Zaf is actually taking the Eastern play.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, I mean, it's never a bad idea to go into Eastern. I feel like not going in now is the better plays. We get the Fire Rod in Skullwoods in the big chest. That is the absolute vanilla-est of vanilla locations for that Fire Rod. That is awesome.
So vanilla, you can sell it as part of your 31 flavors and make it the only one you sell.
Oh, man. That's so sad. The stream is down as it was getting reset, I think. Oh, no, but it looks like it's actually up.
Nope,
so people did hear that. My Twitch just had not reloaded, so people did hear that. That's fantastic.
Wonderful. We didn't miss a beat. Nothing changed at all.
Ooh, Tempered Sword in Eastern. That's nice.
The Bacon Sword is probably one of the most powerful things that you can use to really clear the game with, not having to rely on the Master Sword at all for Ganon.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's something that it's the absolute nicest upgrade in the game. Everything else, obviously, is needed in some situations, but that difference from Master Sword to Tempered Sword is just massively significant.
Xirtanul actually making the interesting play of going to Graveyard Cave without being able to check King's Tomb.
Oh, and he gets the silvers for his decision.
That is pay dirt, folks.
All right, so, and you know, the thing I love about where that's at, it's not necessarily a location that people check early on. And so depending on what this seed yields, Zaphod may never make their way towards Graveyard Cliff. So that could be a huge decision coming down the road.
So Xirtanul actually making the best possible usage of their time to actually go check Catfish right now, because otherwise routing it is a huge time sink.
Yeah, I agreed. This is the most optimal time for Xirtanul to check Catfish. It's one of those locations that is so far out of the way, you'd never really want to go there.
Zaphod heading over towards the big key chest in the wonderful Eastern Palace. What have we today, Catfish? A whole lot of nothing.
That's the big bomb upgrade. And another vanilla location for an item. That was the big key in its vanilla location. That's 2 already in this seed. Are we going to see another absolute vanilla location? If this is bow, I'm going to lose it.
No,
okay,
it's
good.
Just a burrito, don't worry.
I was going to lose it. I mean, I would have loved it, but I was going to lose it.
Xirtanul actually taking the long way back. Looks like they're going over to Pod. It's also a good time to check the pyramid as well.
I think maybe they're going to check pyramid. That would be really crazy to go into Pod right now. You're missing, by the logic, 3 items required for it in the bow, the hammer, and the lamp. I've seen crazier things, but I feel like they're just going to check pyramid, probably save and quit at that point, and head back towards Village of Outcasts area.
That's definitely the smarter idea, since we are still missing the hammer. And we have ourselves a Tonka Truck shield.
He doesn't need that.
But what else would you get the police riot shield from?
And just confirmation on all those crystals and pendants, and our tracker did a lovely job of finding them, so well done. Shout out to Sabo Tender for catching those very quickly for us.
Zaphod heading into Skullwoods, as Xirtanul is actually heading back towards Kakariko, probably going to do the same thing. Except for the fact that we're probably going to see a Thieves Town check from Xirtanul at this point.
Yeah, and that was actually their first Light World dungeon check. And so they now both runners have full information on dungeons.
Now, Green Pendant Pod is really interesting, but, or excuse me, Eastern Palace is really interesting, but why not route it into a pod check as well?
My guess is they realize how few items they have. They could very well be bow locked instantly in it by not being able to get anything if it's not a small key in that first chest on the left. And where they don't have hammer or by logic the lamp, the seed probably is not intending them going there yet. I like the decision not to go in it yet. You know, I mean, maybe it could have been a big play, big gamble if it had been there. But at this point in the seed, 24 minutes in, I don't think it's really smart to go make any huge gambles. But you know, those huge gambles are what win races.
And this deep in the top 8, this is one of the final matches of the top 8. We definitely might see some huge gambles here, and they may or may not pay off.
Yeah, so we'll see. I do believe we'll see some gambles by either runner or both, but not quite this early. But you know, I could be wrong.
Xirtanul continuing on to Thieves Town, checking the 3rd and 4th chests. Not so much so far.
Yeah, nothing too much. Oh, right as we say that, we get the hook shot.
Commentator's blessing as the shot hook has been revealed, as well as the big key, which Xirtanul is going to go ahead and just peace out for the time being.
Yeah, you know, actually, I don't blame him for this. It's a pendant. You got a good item in it, and at that point, you either commit to the dungeon or you leave it. And where he doesn't have hammer, where it's a pendant, I think it's a good idea to leave. If you get hammer and you're still looking for items, you can go back in there. Or if we find out it is a pendant, you know, pedestal seed, at that point, especially having got the hook shot, I think that's a pretty good play for Xirtanul. Meanwhile, Zaphod is finishing off Skullwoods, which after getting the fire rod, Xirtanul left. So this will be interesting to see what Skullwoods has.
The only bad thing about this decision is Zaphod doesn't have anything that resembles Magic Meter.
Oh no, but they do have Tempered. They do have Tempered, so that won't be bad. As Xirtanul gets their Tempered Sword in the Bombable Hut, so we will most likely be seeing Butter Sword for both runners in this seed. That's pretty crazy. We have all known locations of all 4 swords at 25 minutes in.
Here's hoping that's the case. We want things to be a little easy on our runners. Not always the trolliest of things, especially in a game 3. These two have been through a lot already.
Yeah. I've got a lot of like items that typically control pretty hard too. Being, you know, Cane of Samaria being one. Gloves sometimes can be pretty trolly. Flippers or mirror. Sometimes those items come so late. But we have the most well-known troll in Ice Rod still, as Zaphod easily takes care of Mothula, having that Tempered Sword in hand. Did not need the magic at all.
That's definitely a good idea, because the more you use your magic, the longer it takes for the meter to fill up and you exiting the dungeon, so it's actually a good time save.
Yeah.
Xirtanul picking up Mr. Concern Froge is actually thinking about going to return them.
Yeah, and Xirtanul taking care of the dwarves with early mirror. That's not a bad idea. Quick and easy check, and definitely set up for them to be checked early. Whether they actually have something or not, we're going to find out pretty soon.
Which, it's not the worst of plays, considering they can't access Magic Bat or Hammer Cave right now, but at least they can get 2 of the items over here, and we have ourselves a bottle of red Kool-Aid. Really great timing on that.
Man, that's pretty nice. My guess is they're going to get the purple chest, head down, check Hype Cave, see what that has to offer, and then turn in the chest. And it looks exactly like what they'll do. Probably check Stumpy on the way too, and the south of Grove mirror location as well. As we see triple bombs on bumper for Zaphod. It looks like they might be heading their way towards Graveyard Ledge, so we probably will see both runners with silvers. Maybe, nope, they're heading down south.
Oh, that is the commentator's jinx right there. Xirtanul is going to go ahead and check the infamous mirror ledge, of which I constantly bother to people to always check, because you never know what's going to be right here.
You never know. It's one of those things that has nothing when you check early, but if you leave it for long, it always got the item you need.
And it definitely had nothing, so that would completely prove your theory true. So we're not going to go ahead and check Stumpy here. As that looks to be heading to Thieves.
Yeah, and now we'll get to see if Zaphod decides to make the same decision as Xirtanul and bounce out when they get that hook shot and see the final location of the big key, or if they decide to keep going in. Last time they decided to keep going in a dungeon, they didn't get much. They got the shovel, which we'll see shortly what is hidden there, I'm sure, when Zaphod checks Stumpy. But at this point, there wasn't much inside of Eastern Palace that, as of yet.
Zaph grabbing butter here. That's very, very quick. Sub 30 butter sword as we have a big old heart container out of the purple chest. Not too much out of that.
Not much inside of the dwarf or the purple chest. And I did misspeak. We did get the tempered sword out of Eastern for Zaphod, so which is hence why they have butter sword at this point. But I mean, knowing that we got a tempered sword later on earlier, I guess it's not as big of an item find as it was originally.
We are definitely going to get a hype cave check for the Dark World. This may or may not choose to be a really big thing, as hype cave in version 27 has been pretty dull.
It has been very dull in version 27, and so far we get a piece of heart, and we get there's his Fisher Price shield, excuse me, a full heart, piece of heart, full heart, and ether. Okay, so maybe hype-ish? I mean, we'll have to find out if that's actually required or not.
So I think it was funny having passed on a shield, they are now forced to take one unless a like decides to eat it.
And Zaphod picks up their hook shot, gonna go get the big key, and then we'll see if they decide to make the same decision as Xirtanul very soon here. And it looks like they are gonna continue on with the dungeon. They're going with the mindset of leave nothing behind, because they did the same thing in School Woods. They just like, you know what, I can finish it, I'm gonna do it. Which Xirtanul didn't do that either, and Xirtanul picks up their lamp. Yeah, good routing to be able to fix that in before doing anywhere else that would have required the lamp for dark rooms besides escape in the sewers.
That lamp pickup was also pretty well timed as well. I don't think there could have been a better spot to route that aside of maybe going to ice like right before it.
Yeah, that's I agree with that. And so now at this point, they clearly are not going to ice, though they are fully capable of going into ice and completing it with that fire rod.
Xirtanul looks to be heading towards Death Mountain. Now that we have the hook shot, we can actually go climb and check Paradox Cave, which holds a whopping 7 chests, and then we also have Sparkle for another one.
We have the entire access to Death Mountain right now, actually, because we have Titan's Mitts, Moon Pearl, Hookshot, and Mirror, so we can check every single location except for Spike Cave and Ether Tablet on Death Mountain. So this is actually a really great play. There is a lot of item locations up here.
It's not full fluidity as if you would have the hammer as well, but they can definitely get pretty much everything checked right now, which is smart play.
Yeah, that's true. If Xirtanul had the hammer, this would be an absolute brilliant play. Now, if he finds hammer up here, well, you know, that's how games are won. They can, not really a big gamble, but this is a pretty big decision, and you know, could pay out pretty big for him. We'll have to see how it goes. Plenty of locations up here.
With all the value this place tends to provide, especially if you have the book as well, yeah, this is probably like the best play I've seen so far. And nothing in Spectacle Rock Cave. How unfortunate.
No, just a total of 20 rupees in Spectacle Rock. So nothing too much. And now Xirtanul's going to head down, go across the gap with that hook shot, and check all that Eastern Death Mountain has to offer with both Dark and Light World access.
So we have 7 chests in Paradox, we have 1 in Spiral. If you go over to Dark Death Mountain, you have a big old whopping 2 in Super Bunny Cave, 4 in Hookshot Cave, and then the Floating Island. Death Mountain is just a good play if you have the items for it all the time.
Agreed. And also something to point out, if Turtle Rock is Ether, we would have access to Turtle Rock. If it's Ether, I would be I would be shocked if Xirtanul does not head into Turtle Rock with how important it's been in their last 2 races. As we get the mushroom and triple bombs in the first 2 chests.
And then Zaphod probably going to make Blind completely look like an amateur shoot-'em-up player. Got Xirtanul going ahead and checking out the big old 5 chests right here. Let's see what kind of value we have inside.
Once they take care of that pesky troll dorm, mini troll dorm, as Zaphod easily takes care of Blind and gets a piece of heart for their action, and which I believe is every item in Thieves Town. I don't think we ever saw the compass.
So if we didn't see the compass, that would have been in the hammer chest, which makes this dungeon completely done, fortunately.
Yeah, and which makes Xirtanul's decision to go all the way, or to bounce out after that hook shot, very, very good, unless it becomes a pedestal seat, which is, at this point, we haven't even discussed what the possibilities of that are, which I mean, of course, Ice Rod, that's one that can always be there. Book can be there, which is always trolly. Any possible medallions. Flute.
How about mushroom into needed witch check?
We got mushroom in the first 2 chests in Paradox Cave from Xirtanul, so mushroom cannot be there.
Okay.
And Ice Rod.
Ooh. What about powder?
It could be powder, yeah. It could be the one remaining fetch quest. We still have not seen what shovel holds, and as we just got mushroom, we don't know what that holds either. But I'm sure Zaphod will be checking that very soon, as they are now finishing up the dig game and gonna go pick up the dwarf.
Xirtanul mirroring in a very interesting location. Just wanted to check the floating island by the looks of it.
Yep, you can see that information on the floating island. Not a bad idea on your way to Turtle Rock. All right, if this is Ether, after Hookshot Cave, I would put money on Xirtanul going into Turtle Rock. I didn't see that. That was too fast.
Missing the hammer in order to get into Turtle Rock, though.
Oh my goodness, you're right. Still didn't see what medallion that was.
I did check my second monitor just to make sure, and that was barely a sliver of any sort of sight of what Turtle Rock had, but the chat is saying Ether, so it's really interesting.
If it was indeed Ether, that is very interesting.
Since it was just a fraction of a sliver, I didn't see it, so I'm not 100% sure, but Xirtanul just piecing out of Hookshot Cave.
Yeah, didn't get anything out of there, and I totally forgot about having hammer required at Turtle Rock. I was just so excited that that might be a possibility at 35 minutes. And so we won't be seeing Turtle Rock play unless they happen to find hammer in Tower of Hera.
Making a very smart play going into Tower of Hera. Only 2 items, but it is a fairly good dungeon to complete, and they do have both the fire items they need to actually clear this.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting up there to 24/7, don't worry. We have the other shields for Xirtanul, so now we know where all 3 shields are.
Xirtanul would have Mirror Shield right now if they had made that decision to go get it.
And Riot Shield is never a bad thing, but having just the Fire Shield itself is more than enough for most people.
Yeah, and really the only place of value for the Riot Shield is Turtle Rock Laser Bridge, and both runners are pretty confident doing it without the Riot Shield, so it's not something that Xirtanul's gonna be like, oh, I need to go get that. But, can he even get it at this point? I don't know.
It's 100% a comfort item. Just the small key in the big chest, which means we're going to possibly have something on Troll Door.
Yeah, we haven't seen an item yet inside of Tower of Hera either, so that means basement is... No, wait, we got the Fire Shield, sorry.
It's perfectly alright, Zaf. Going to get a whole lot of disappointment from that purple chest, but not a lot of time lost with it, so better than nothing.
Nope, just doing all the normal overworld location checks, and we did see that the cape was on the shovel, behind the shovel, so with triple bombs being required, or excuse me, not required, being behind Bumper Cave, cape is not required in this seed. That'll just be a nice safety item, which with Butter Sword And red and mail, probably never going to really see our runners use cape, except for maybe to get to Spike Cave Chest.
I think the one time I've ever used a shield and actually liked having it was in Landmost 2 up in Ganon's Tower. And then we find the hammer for Xirtanul on top of the tower.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I'm completely shocked. Zaf is probably happy to see that ether. That's one less worry out of the mind.
For sure. Now, do they make the play to Death Mountain? Because we know Death Mountain has a lot of important items, and especially one of those being the hammer. And Xirtanul, I bet you they're heading straight for Turtle Rock right now.
That is a very good decision. Big 5 items inside there, plus you got one from Mimic Cave if you choose to stop off at it.
Yeah, indeed. So, yep, Xirtanul's he sees the signs based off of the way the seed has gone the last 2 times for our runners. He's like, you know, I'm going straight to Turtle Rock. 38 minutes in, and we are going into Turtle Rock already. I love it.
Zaf making that play to actually get the lamp, which was the smartest thing to do. That's not something you really like wanting to skip out on if it's that easy to pick up.
For sure, and both made that same routing decision on it, and now this is where we might see a difference. Does Zaphod continue on in this area? And it looks like they are going to head to Pod. Or maybe they're going to check Catfish and the pyramid locations as well, as Xirtanul did earlier.
Catfish would be pretty far out of the way, so I'm thinking probably a pod check from this.
That would be my guess, is a pod check, which maybe not. They're not going the right way.
Yeah, possibly pyramid. Xirtanul and Turtle Rock. That's the first chest you usually check. It's usually a pretty big thing, but it's only a piece of heart this time.
Yeah, just a piece of heart. It is one of the 5 items inside of Turtle Rock, though, so that's something to keep in mind. We're down to 4 remaining in here, but the nice thing is we know that we can full clear this dungeon. So regardless of the outcome of this, we know that Xirtanul can get the crystal. So it's a great play, and Zaphod does want that fire shield.
Never a bad thing to have. Definitely protects you from that dreaded Landmo 2 room where dreams are shattered.
They so are.
Xirtanul trying to use the hook shot to maybe get past the spike pillars, but not being very successful on the first one. We find the big key, though. That's actually really big.
Yeah, that in very early big key in Turtle Rock. Though one major thing with Turtle Rock is it's Gomo Turtle Rock versus regular Turtle Rock, which we'll see from Xirtanul. There's not much of a time difference. You skip a couple of chest locations, depending on where you get that big key, but most of the time you have to go out of your way to get all those small keys.
Yeah, the laser bridge is usually something people like to skip, especially if you don't have the riot shield or the cape or the Daniel Bryan cane. Pretty decent cane strats for making quick work of the chain chomp room, though, as Zaphod is going to go ahead and grab that catfish item. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely secret.
It doesn't care about the 10 plus bomb upgrade. All right, now this is the moment of truth for Zaphod. Do they head up to Death Mountain based off of where they saved and quit to? I think so.
Here's hoping so. You're starting to run out of options at this point if you're Zaphod, and you're thinking there's a lot of value up there that can potentially be had, and as we've seen so far, that is definitely the case.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it makes perfect sense. It really doesn't make sense to go into Pod where you're missing 2 extremely important items to even clear the place, let alone finish it in the bow and hammer. And there's plenty of options available to you on Death Mountain that you have full access to, as we mentioned earlier. And, you know, my guess is, and again, both runners have in the back of their mind, they know very well that Turtle Rock has held quite the value in both their previous seeds. So both runners are probably wanting to get there as soon as they can. And Xirtanul definitely took that opportunity. Would be surprised if Zaphod does not do the same.
So, Zaphod definitely picking up the old man, and we're going to get ourselves another little bit of disappointment, but Xirtanul is definitely making one of the harder rooms look pretty easy here.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. And Zaphod will have a slight advantage on everything up this way, having that butter sword. not much, but everything will be just die slightly faster.
That is very true. Now, we're going to possibly get a mimic cave check right here, since there's plenty of things that we're missing at this point.
Yeah, we are missing all sorts of items for Go mode at this point, so would be surprised if they skip it, and they do not.
Very smart decision. It doesn't take a whole lot to actually clear this room out, and it can be potentially a big thing. See, just like that. Just a big heart. Definitely not worth saving quitting over, so we're going to go ahead and head straight back into T-Rock.
Yes, indeed. And with red mail already, Xirtanul has 14 hearts and a red potion as a safety just in case. I don't think these... And with tempered sword for Xirtanul, butter sword for Zaphod, I would not too worried about any runner having any type of difficulty in this seed at all. It's been pretty nice to him.
Zaf going to go ahead and grab into Tower of Hera here. Hopefully he doesn't think about going into the basement at all. Xirtanul also making the mini rolling pin room. We find the swag net. Alright.
Now we can go to Aghanim. We can go to Aghanim now. Of course, we'll never see that because we have absolutely no need to go there, but love seeing the bug net used on Aghanim. It's fun to see.
Zaf gonna go ahead and check these two chests, which weren't all that really, helpful.
Nope. The value definitely was on Moldorm. And for Zaphod, getting the Riot Shield, that's pretty nice too.
Taking the interesting slower route, especially when you have something like Hookshot.
Yeah, and they even have it equipped, so it couldn't even be something they forgot about. That was kind of an interesting decision on their part, but I guess the intensity of the moment maybe made you not even think about it.
Xirtanul heading onto the laser bridge here. There is a couple different strategies people like to use here, but without half magic, that's one of the smarter things is to try and evade them like this.
And not having that Riot Shield, this is where it comes in the absolute most wow, I said that really bad. Having the Riot Shield would be of great value to Xirtanul right here, and Zaphod will be able to go through this room very much quicker than Xirtanul is. And even if Xirtanul had half magic, they have nothing to use with it. They don't have the cape or Cane of Urnus, so it's not something... Oh, Xirtanul, gotta be careful!
Laser bridge definitely not becoming anything interesting. Xirtanul's gonna go ahead and pop the cherry Kool-Aid. Not taking the safety save with the door at the bottom there. This is a really risky strategy.
I think they were planning on it, but taking that fall, I think they're like, you know what? I got Tempered Sword. I'm just gonna go for it, and you shouldn't have any troubles on Trinix. But they almost died on that final laser bridge. That would have been really bad for Xirtanul.
Considering these two are in the top 8 fighting for basically 5th place at this point, if you lose, I'm seeing a whole lot of top-end play right here.
Yeah, this is definitely a big moment for both runners, win or lose. I mean, they made it to the top 8 in this secondary tournament from 105 people down to the final 8. So nothing to scoff at for whoever loses, and whoever wins going to the top 4 is pretty impressive.
So Xirtanul definitely having a little bit of trouble with the ice there due to the fact that
oh no! Oh, they have the
floor.
green.
The lime Kool-Aid coming in so clutch.
Oh man, that I thought was gonna be bad for Xirtanul. Forgot they had the green Kool-Aid. That is, lifesaver. Use both of their potions in Turtle Rock right at the end. Shouldn't have any problems with this final phase having Tempered Sword though.
Zaphod heading into the old Paradox Cave. Not gonna find much there, but definitely has more options going upstairs.
Ha! Powder.
Well, I did call Powder being around somewhere. I think it was probably on the pedestal though.
That is where you would call it being on pedestal, leading to the item required to finish the seed. But it looks like that will not be the dream. at this time, but we do find that Turtle Rock did not have the bow. Both their previous seeds it did, so this time it doesn't. And overall, Turtle Rock, unless the powder holds something, Turtle Rock was a bust.
It was completely 100% necessary since it was a crystal, though, so definitely best to get out of the way early.
That's true. Definitely a good point there.
And we are getting a double dose of Xirtanul here. This is amazing.
Yes, folks, you are not seeing a perfectly synced race. This is a double view of Xirtanul's having small technical difficulties, and speaking difficulties apparently. Small technical difficulties on Zaphod's side. Things will be fixed shortly.
So basically, this is filling our eyes with that double vision, right?
Double vision.
There's no disguise with that double vision.
Just reloading up Zaphod's stream. We'll get that up shortly.
As we have Xirtanul going with that double vision straight down into Ice Palace. 3 chests in here. We're not looking for too much more other than the bow, really.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, what are our go mode items? For Xirtanul, it's bow and flute, possibly the boots. We don't know if boots are required for Desert Palace or not yet. So, yeah, at this point, we are looking for 2 for sure items, possibly 3, as we get Zaphod back online.
Don't forget, Meyer is required, and we don't exactly know what that is yet, so we can definitely see some value in possibly grabbing more.
True, that is true. I totally forgot that we have not been to Meyer yet. No flute, no Meyer.
Crowd chanting for blood in the form of our cones.
And for anybody that had been watching the last couple of races for these two, Zaphod has been having some issues with their VLC player and kicking them out momentarily, or excuse me, with their OBS. And we've been getting to see a lot of construction cones on Zaphod's screen. So wanting to see more, and that's what happened recently, but we did not get to see the cones. Our restreamers all over that.
So that is something most people have some sort of meme from this tournament about on them. I have my frozen cave that resembles my house. Zaphod has the road cone of destiny. What does Xirtanul have for us?
I'm gonna go with. I mean, really, his kitty. It's when gets bunny beamed, and you have the kitty. It's one of the most adorable bunny beamed sprites in the game, and I love it. I'm gonna go Xirtanul having his kitty.
All right, I'll give that. I was gonna say Mog and Celis, but kittens are loved by everybody. Final Fantasy VI is not known by everybody.
That's true.
Zaph making that play into Turtle Rock, not having too much of an issue with everything so far.
Nope, not too much. Shouldn't have too much of the issue. They are fully geared out. They have Butter Sword, Red Mail, and Riot Shield. They have everything necessary for this dungeon. The one thing that would make it better is having half magic. That's the only way that this dungeon would be easier for Zaphod.
Which we've seen pretty much everything inside of Turtle Rock, so we know half magic isn't here, but we may find it elsewhere.
Yes, indeed, we may. Where it might be, well, guess we'll just have to wait and see if we find it. Now, for anybody that may have just joined us and maybe wondering how the seed has gone so far, started off pretty quick inside Kakariko and just kind of kept going from there. Zaphod did a few extra things, full cleared Eastern as far as they could without the bow, and also finished off Skull Woods and Thieves Town, which Xirtanul bounced out of all 3 after Xirtanul didn't even go into Eastern, but bounced out of Skull Woods and Eastern, or Thieves Town, after getting important items. At this point, Zaphod did not find anything of value, so Xirtanul's play has benefited him at this point. We'll have to see how that affects us going forward, as Zaphod is taking a beating from the chomps.
That is really unfortunate. It has to be careful. It does not have the powder in order to save lives, because that powder would have been on Trinex.
Yeah, it's worst place to find it. This is one of the better dungeons to have powder, and you get it on the boss. So rude.
Definitely one of my favorite safety items in the game. For anybody that's just starting, that is actually a huge blessing to have both powder and nut. So we have the big key for Ice Palace right here. We're going to go ahead and take the shortcut way back.
Yeah, and Zaphod using their red potion to sustain themselves, since that room can be very dangerous, even with red mail.
So we have the vanilla Generation 1 small Luigi sprite as the Bunny Bean, which is probably the most amazingly epic sprite there is.
You know, both of these runners, with their sprite choice, the Bunny Beam is almost the better part of both runners' sprites. The kitty for Xirtanul and that Generation 1 Luigi for Zaphod as Luigi. They're fantastic sprites. All the creators of this randomizer, everybody that's been involved in making the sprites and stuff, have done such a fantastic job coming up with all these different sprites, and also all the Bunny Beam caricatures that come with them. It's been a joy having all these different options and seeing them in the tournaments.
So the only sprite we're really missing from the randomizer itself would have been Hilda, and I'm a very big advocate of that particular girl.
That would be lovely. And what if you had any input on what the Bunny Beam sprite would be, what would you want it to be for that sprite?
Easily Ravio or the little bunny thing that follows Ravio.
I would say the little bunny thing that follows.
Zaphod getting a big dose of disappointment here, coming up in Mimic Cave in 3, 2, and 1.
Just more hearts, and as Zaphod now gets up to their 14 hearts, Xirtanul did not have an extra key to be able to get enough potions right outside of Ice Palace, and not having Bombos will not have enough potions to be able to break Coldstare's ice. That is actually a big thing, because they're gonna have to go back there and kill Coldstare, because that is one of the crystal dungeons, and not only that, it is a 5/6 crystal, so that would have opened up the fairy pyramid, or pyramid fairy, which at this point could very well have been an important item. So that'll be something we'll have to keep an eye on if Zaphod makes their way there, or we'll have to see. That could be huge.
So the trade-off for not being able to do and finish Ice Palace, Xirtanul used that green lime Kool-Aid to actually finish off Trinex, which in theory is actually a good thing, because that's one less thing you have to climb up Death Mountain for.
Yeah, and definitely using it on Trinex is better than using it on Coldstare. And they're going to route in, turning into Mushroom and picking up all their potions. Little frustration, I'm sure, having to get potions to be able to finish off Coldstare, but they will definitely be well prepared next time.
Only 2 bottles. Still, it's good enough if you pick up a green refill and then grab 2 blues here. But deciding to take 2 blues instead and getting the pot fill-ups from Ice Palace yet again.
Yep, and so far, neither of our fetch quests have yielded anything important, and here we see Zaphod using that riot shield. He's going to be able to just blaze right on through this laser bridge. You can see the difference in time and also safety that Zaphod has having that riot shield in this particular location. This is where it really comes in handy.
I would definitely say so. Now, not getting the riot shield gave us quite a scare, and that's probably on the back of the mind, forcing both potions out of Xirtanul in T-Rock. That's something to think about later on.
Indeed it did. However, Zaphod did have to use their red potion, or earlier on, because they were taking damage from those chomps. Both runners have had to use their red potion in this dungeon, and now I don't remember if Zaphod actually picked up the green potion or not.
I don't remember seeing it either, so this is going to be a very, very close Trinex fight, because you do take up a lot of magic if you miss these.
Yeah, they do have Butter Sword, though, so that is 3 quick slashes and easily takes care of those heads, so magic definitely not even going to be a problem for Zaphod.
That is very fortunate. Butter's sword and that wonderful 3 slashes versus 5 making all the difference. Because that
Oh yeah.
actually requires another shot of each rod on each side, and that's assuming you hit.
Yeah, which Xirtanul struggled with the fire rod, which is funny because normally you only struggle with the ice rod because it shoots so much slower. But both runners being able to take care of Trinox on the first go around, Zaphod picking up their powder.
As we get Xirtanul going to Magic Bat, wonder what the thought process is behind this.
Well, they have a few. They got it in Turtle Rock. They have a few locations to check right there. They're able to do the hammer pegs. So just getting the fetch quests out of the way at this point. They did Mushroom earlier, so I think they're just trying to get all those fetch quests out of the way, hoping that if it is something, they checked it early enough so that it's not something that can come back and bite them.
That is very true. Oh, we have Quack out of Magic Bat. That could be coming in very handy very soon as we find the flute. We're not 100% sure yet.
Yeah, Meyer at this point, we have no idea what the medallion requirement is, as we have not gotten the flute to make our way there yet. And we're going to get a spike cave check from Zaphod. Xirtanul did not do this earlier.
This could be coming up to be very interesting very quick. Xirtanul looks to be heading toward... Back into Ice Palace is actually a smart idea.
Yep, they want to get that, which again opens up that pyramid fairy. I like the play for Xirtanul. They don't want to leave that behind. You never want to leave anything behind, and that is definitely a very important thing not to leave behind because of the crystal alone. As Spike Cave has 20 rupees, so Xirtanul's not missing anything out, not having made it there.
Zaf getting shut down and Xirtanul heads back into the Ice Palace. Definitely round 2 with a vengeance here.
Yep, and the lucky thing on this end, they'll be able to just go straight to Cold Stare using that bomb jump. It'll be a much quicker way in, but that is extra time spent. And again, they have not done as much clearing in dungeons as Zaphod has. However, 2 of those dungeons that Zaphod cleared that Xirtanul did not were pendants. So Xirtanul may not have to go in there ever.
That is a very interesting thought process. As Zaphod is going to go ahead and turn in the mushroom as well. Not going to get anything for it, but this is a good opportunity to reload.
Yeah, and I mean, if they happen to have run into the same situation that Xirtanul did on Colt before Gold Stare, they will not have to worry about not having a potion to take care of that magic. And again, I do believe... Oh, no, they did pick up the green. There it is right there.
Hey, second bottle for Zaphod. Definitely going to be using that up right here and filling it up with blue. Very the smart play.
They decided to keep the green potion, which I actually don't think is too terrible of an idea. They have a lot of hearts, and there could very well come down to the point, if their plan is to head into Ice Palace, which that's my guess, then they have that green goo for preventing what happened to Xirtanul.
So the optimal strategy for that actually would be to use the green potion right there, pick it up for 60 rupees, or pick up a blue instead of the green. I'm doubting this just a little, but Zaphon's pretty confident in order to not make that play. Money is not really an issue right now.
No, not at all. And to point out, somebody in chat, they asked if Luigi does have swimming goggles on when they're swimming. The sprite has goggles when swimming. That is amazing. I did not notice that. I love it.
That attention to detail is beautiful, as Xirtanul is going to go ahead and head straight down the hall.
Yes, that attention to detail. Again, shout out to the creators of these sprites, putting in the little things like that. It is glorious.
And Xirtanul doesn't have to worry about doing anything more in Ice Palace other than making sure we have a little bit more magic this time, but we are definitely well prepared now.
Yes, indeed. Neither runner should have any issues inside of Ice Palace, where both have a blue and Xirtanul has another blue, with Zaphod having a green. So definitely no issues for either runner.
And here we go into Cold Stare, as Zaphod's going to go ahead and start heading down into floor 3.
Gonna have to pop one of those blue potions, finish off breaking the ice. Then with Temper Sword, won't be too hard to finish off the eyeballs.
Nah, Cold Stare with either Tempered or Golden, it's definitely an easy fight.
Very, very easy. And Xirtanul struggled a little bit with that last one, but in the end having no problems at all, finishing off and getting the last key in the dungeon. and getting the most important part of it, the crystal that opens up the Pyramid Fairy. So my guess is that's their next check. Where do you think Xirtanul heads next?
Xirtanul is in prime position, actually finishing ice as a 5 and 6 crystal to immediately go over and start thinking about Pyramid Fairy.
I definitely agree with that.
This is probably the most optimal routing in order to get this accomplished. We are going to go find out just very shortly where Xirtanul is going.
Yes, indeed. Now, I'm not entirely sure where they're headed. Did they not check Ice Rod Cave earlier?
No, Zaphod blew up my house. Xirtanul, get away from it. Get away from it.
That's right. Xirtanul did not blow it up. The crabs are not going to be able to kill this kid. This kid is going to destroy your house. I am so sorry, Lyra.
Not again. I just put that wall back up. Here, you can take these other twigs. I don't need them anymore. Now they're in your burden. Ha!
Well, at least they only stole twigs from you. Nothing too important. I'm sure there's a lot more things there that you would rather not lose. As Xirtanul definitely going to be heading towards the Pyramid Fairy at this point. Now, something that we haven't even talked about yet, Swamp Palace, even though it's a pendant, is entirely open for a full clear to our runners. It's a pendant. Do you think either runner goes in there?
6 items, value. I totally see this being a possibility. Especially if you go left side. If you full clear this dungeon and you find something, and as we saw earlier in our tournament, earlier this evening, if you skip left side, you're probably going to regret it later.
Yeah, it's one of those things though. When you don't skip it, I've seen Xirtanul accidentally buying some bombs as well.
That's okay. Just helping out Greedo there, actually, supporting the house just a little bit.
Just boosting Hyrule's economy. Nothing wrong with that. I Swamp Palace is definitely a big play. But do you think they try Pod first? I think you do. It's a crystal, and you can find out very quickly if you're bow locked.
Pod is the smarter idea in the routing is concerned. If you were to save and quit and then start going back towards Swamp again, you would be potentially missing out on some time here, and that's not something either of these runners generally want to do at this point.
Yeah, for sure. With the possibility with advancing to the top 4 on the line, I don't think either runner wants to miss out on time, as we get 20 rupees and 50 rupees. So 70 rupees from the Pyramid Fairy. It's a bust.
Got that refund for another green pod if you decide to go back that way when you pick up the flute, though.
True. Getting the flute makes going to the witch very, very easy.
Now, a couple floors ago, Zaphon did the interesting old strategy of going into that top room where the spike ball is and actually falling down that hole. That's not something you see many runners do anymore.
No, you don't. But with the way that the dungeon laid out for him, it forced both runners to do that. So, and here we go. We have Zaphod going in. Would have been in the same situation as Xirtanul, but they did not have to use their green potion. That's a big time save for Zaphod in relation to how Xirtanul had to do things.
Now, Zaphon's making these dungeons look really clean and professional. I'm really digging this.
Yeah, both runners really have had phenomenal execution in all aspects. Xirtanul did have, like we said, had a little bit of a struggle with Trinex missing a few fire rod shots, but really both runners doing phenomenal execution jobs.
Zaphon completely showing the difference between tempered and golden makes.
My goodness, Buttersword just destroys those things.
It is so beautiful. I'm totally digging this play by Xirtanul, though. Totally going down into Swamp. There's not a lot left to really think about at this point.
No, and another thing to point out, Zaphod still has not checked Graveyard Ledge, which is where our silvers were held. Now, they're going to likely head towards the Pyramid Fairies as well, and probably do Swamp. So the more places that they keep checking, if they keep getting items that lead them to other locations away from those silvers, that could be huge coming up if this is a close race going into Ganon. Even though Zaphod does have Buttersword advantage over Xirtanul, which Xirtanul may never get the Butter Sword because that was in Eastern Palace.
Yeah, and Eastern Palace was only the green pendant, so it might be in the back of Xirtanul's mind, hey, there's 3 items in there, but why should I do it unless it becomes a pedestal steed, which is starting to die off at this point.
Yeah, again, I mean, we still have bow possibility. Or no, we don't, sorry, Eastern Palace. Flute, possible book, and boots, I believe, and medallion. The Bombos medallion are our final possible items.
So the worst troll at this point would be Meyer actually requiring Bombos and then Bombos being on the pedestal. It's starting to die, but it still has potential.
Yes, indeed. And Zaphod decided to go into Swamp Palace before heading towards the Pyramid Ferry. You know what? Actually, this might be slightly more efficient than going and doing the Pyramid Ferry first because it's one save and quit motion.
And then you can just go ahead and head straight north and go straight to Pyramid Ferry. This is a big time save and routing, actually.
I agree. As we get the flute inside of Swamp Palace, that opens up both Desert Palace and Misery Mire locations for our runners. That is so Swamp Palace was definitely the play, both runners making it. This is fantastic.
Nailed it. I did call value in Swamp, didn't I?
You sure did. You called that for sure.
Now, Xirtanul checking the left side first instead of going straight to Argus. That's an interesting call as well.
I like it because this is a pendant. If you can find all your possible items before Argus, then you don't have to kill the guy and you can get out of there quicker. I think this is the right play in this particular situation. You still need a few items and you don't need to kill the boss. Not at this point. And the possibility of pedestal is very, very small at this point.
The back of your mind, what makes you want to go back into Swamp if you do not go left side first, instead going towards the back? Now, there is 4 items, I believe, back there. 1 in the waterfall room, 2 in the toilet room, and then 1 on Argus. What if you find all 6 items before you have to go to the left side?
And, you know, that's another valid point. That's the gamble you make, and that's why it's one that people are constantly debating on whether one or the other is better. Is so many times you get hurt by not, and in this case, you do. If you wanted to get all the items, you would have had to have gone left because we found one in that first chest, and we get another one in this chest. So you would have gotten both of the dungeon items before going left, and Zaphod is deciding to go straight for the back.
Now, the good thing is they don't have to reflood the whole dungeon if they were to actually leave without going into the left side first. That's the biggest play of all. Even though those items weren't that great, at least you don't have to worry about flooding the thing again just to get at them and be completely disappointed.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of where you come down to the decision. Like, it's extra. Like, if you don't end up needing the items, it's time saved. But if you do have to go back, it's just a little bit of extra time that you're spending.
Both of these runners going into the toilet flush room. Everything is nice and fresh and dandy right in here.
All right, so we have now seen 5 items. If we find a dungeon item right here for Zaphod, or excuse me, an actual item, we'll know that the big key is on Argus, and there's our 6th item. So Xirtanul will be able to leave this dungeon as soon as getting that item, if they choose not to gamble on pedestal.
I think Zaphod's starting to make the pedestal gamble, and I like this decision. I love blind pedestal pulls.
They're fantastic. I've seen one before where it actually ended up being the required item, and that's one of the hyper moments.
The only thing left, again, would be the book, the boots, or Bombo, so for pedestal hype. So, again, it's fading, but it's not exactly gone yet.
Yeah, not gone yet. And at this point, if it's book, it's only as a fetch quest because we no longer need book to get into desert. So it would just be to open up Ether or Bombo's tablets. And yep, Xirtanul taken off right after getting that final item, realizing that there's just dungeon items left. So they're definitely going in. They're playing this seed as straightforward as possible, not doing anything extra.
I love the route diversions just for the simple fact that somebody's going to be right and somebody's not.
That is very true, and it's been that way the entire seed, especially with how Xirtanul starts it off. It's been one runner's going to be right or wrong, and so far things have been favoring Xirtanul. They've not done extra stuff that Zaphod has had to do.
All according to plan. Zaphod actually going to go back in and go down to that left side, so Zaphod's going to be a huge disappointment, but we have ourselves Swag Duck.
Yeah, get your Swag Duck anthem ready. And a restreamer is in the name of DT. I would sing in his honor, but I have a terrible singing voice, so I do not want to, make any of your guys' eardrums bleed. But he is the original creator of the Swag Duck anthem. That is our restreamer for you in the name of DT.
Oh, Swagada, our home in native bird.
Love it.
Xirtanul actually going to go ahead and go into Skullwoods. Has all the items they need. This is going to be very quick clear.
And well, they've already done the first part, since that is where we found our Fire Rod. So they're just going to go straight for Mothula, finish it off, because it is indeed a crystal. So very quick clear for them. At this point, we're down to just Pod and Desert and Fire, of course, as crystals. So this will be Xirtanul's 4th crystal after finishing up.
I'm digging the instant call to go back into Skullwoods. It's a very fast clear.
Yeah, get it out of the way quickly.
But unfortunately, since Xirtanul is not going for the blind pedestal pull, we're definitely not going to see what's on the pedestal right now because neither of them still have Book.
Yeah, Book is... And one of the more interesting things in the randomizer is pedestal can have Book. And if you do indeed do a blind pull and get the Book out of pedestal and then read the pedestal, it says, this is a paradox. And that's one of the best messages that pedestal has.
I like the old, I make things go triple boom. I don't know why I'm so into that particular phrasing. It just makes me laugh every time.
It's so simple and amazing.
Having to fight the Gibdos for that last key, though, definitely making short work of it with that bacon sword. I am very happy they have that.
Yeah. And again, for those that may not know, the final and 4th sword for Xirtanul would be found inside of Eastern Palace on the far east side of the dungeon.
Looks like Zaphod's heading up towards that wonderful bomb house.
Yeah, and they will blow up the Pyramid Ferry for their 70 rupees.
Let's see if Zaphod decides to make a donation to Greedo as well to keep the house afloat.
Oh, Xirtanul! Oh my goodness, he got stuck in those spikes. That was brutal. Had to use his other blue potion just to survive. One hit, and he gets Mothula. Some frustration slashes for the near death there and having to use that blue potion.
The good news about that is, with the flute unlocked, that definitely is a short trip back to refill.
That is true, having picked up that flute. So refilling potions is not going to be painful in this seed.
Zaphod gonna go ahead and grab that wonderful 70 rupees on Pyramid. What's the play from here, we wonder?
I think Zaphod heads straight to Misery Mire area after turning this in. It just makes sense. They've already done Skullwoods entirely. They've done Eastern as far as they can. They've done Thieves Town all the way, leaving just the big chest, which, if we are not mistaken, I think we do remember that it is just a dungeon item. So they've done a lot of extra things that Xirtanul hasn't, and they're, not too much further behind at this point.
I think we're gonna get a Meyer check in about 3, 2, and 1. No, Xirtanul completely sidestepped it, just making us keep on guessing.
Or they saw, the boots!
Xirtanul with a huge play there getting boots, as we're finally gonna get to check to see what this is. Oh, it's Ether. How
It's
unfortunate.
Ether. So that confirms it. We are now just bow away from go mode.
Curses, plans foiled again.
Indeed it is. And yep, Zaphod heading straight to activate their flute, getting another Swag Duck anthem. And again, my voice is terrible, so I will not sing it, but we had our lovely short rendition by Lyra earlier.
That was about all the lyrics I remember of that particular anthem, so I'm not going to re-sing it.
Not a worry.
You're going to have to go back in this VOD and watch it for yourself, though. Oh, there's the book, though.
That is a lovely place for the book.
Zaf catching right back up with Xirtanul. This is a very close race.
Yes, it is. Having cleared Schoolwoods earlier, they did not have to go ahead that way. So just, again, the things that Zaphod did earlier, and now Xirtanul's having to do, so it's allowing Zaphod to catch up. So that's why earlier, you never really could say that Xirtanul had any type of real advantage. Now, if they'd found Go Mode items, it would have been, or if they found the items to fully get them into Go Mode, it would have been an advantage, but it did not. And the boots were definitely required for this seed.
Now the boots actually being conveniently placed in the Meyer shed. What could possibly go wrong at this point for either of these runners?
Everything. I'm finding the book on Desert Ledge, which you either need the book to even access or mirror and flute. I'm gonna say the bow is in pedestal. Crap, it can't be. Pedestal Dream is completely dead.
Unfortunate for our viewers, as Xirtanul's gonna go ahead and check the big chest. Bow in here would be really fascinating.
Yes, it would. That would be our Go Mode for Xirtanul if it is indeed inside a desert, and it's just 100 rupees.
Unfortunate, but being able to clear desert and immediately back into Meyer, that's very, very smart strategy.
Yeah, I would be surprised if either runner does something different. You have the entire possibility of full clearing the place and finishing it off. It would be nice to be able to Go Mode it, but you are still looking for that bow. And you know what? It could be in pod.
The value of pod and the power of cheese.
Indeed.
Xirtanul heading straight up to land mall as the Zaphod's going to go straight into right side, not seeing much of anything, and then just completely back out.
So now Xirtanul has not been in Eastern Palace yet. Do you think they decide to go to Eastern Palace before going into pod? And do you think they might be worried that they left the bow in Eastern, having never checked it yet?
That is entirely good of a thought process.
It's got to be something on the back of their mind, knowing full well that they never even entered Eastern Palace, which, I mean, at this point was the great play. I mean, they had the shovel, which led to a piece of heart, and it was Zaphod's tempered sword. It would be Xirtanul's butter sword if they head there, but at this point, nothing important inside of Eastern, so their decision not to go there was a great decision. But at this point, they got to be feeling a little worried that maybe the bow was in there and they left it.
Now, this brings up the eternal question, as you stated previously, sir. Which way of doing pod in Eastern Palace is faster? Both of them have their merits.
I like doing pod first personally, just for the simple fact that as soon as you finish Eastern, especially if you have flute, you flute away right away. But you're not really saving any time either way, I think, especially if you're Go moding either of them, or both, I should say. I feel like it's sixes, and it's just kind of more preference what you want to do. Sometimes it's nice just to get the quicker one out of the way doing Eastern, just so you have it and it's done. Or you have the other way, looking at it, it's nice to get the fast one out of the way done. Or the long one.
I guess for me, it would matter whether it's early, mid, or late game in a seed. If it's early or mid, I would definitely say I like doing Eastern more over pot, because you can just immediately go straight down from Eastern and just not have to worry about the maze more than once.
Yeah, that is also a good point. And where Eastern is a green pendant, well, actually, in this seed, it's not going to matter. I keep forgetting that Eastern's a pendant, and you can't actually get bow. You need the bow to finish it. So at this point, that green pendant is absolutely nothing. The only thing of value it could be is half magic, because that's the only thing of value it could be.
I was thinking green pendant to shovel to something, but that can't happen anymore. Sadness.
Well, and shovel was in Eastern, so it's kind of close. But shovel was only, I believe, a heart piece. It was inconsequential. Zaphod got that in Eastern well, like an hour ago.
Curse is foiled again, as Xirtanul is going to go ahead and go into the left side of Meyer. Now the question is, are you going to go ahead and head up into the lamp wall? And it looks like it's a yes.
Yeah, I haven't found any items inside of Meyer yet. The likelihood of needing to check this room is probably pretty high. You're over here, check it. I like the decision.
So Xirtanul, is going to take the 45-second time loss here, but Xirtanul did find one item. It was the 10 arrows that was in the room before this.
Oh, I completely missed that.
No worries. Zaphod has pretty much cleared Eastern all the way up until the point of where you actually go up to Armos.
Yep, everything but Armos. They, not having bow, was not able to do that. So if Xirtanul decides to go in there, that'll be something that Zaphod will not have to do, because at this point, neither runner needs to kill Armos Knights. There's absolutely no benefit to killing the Armos Knights at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Xirtanul is going ahead and leaving the left side, going into the middle, and maybe checking the big key chest?
Possibly, if they don't find an item here. And it's our big keys, so definitely have to go check that big key chest.
Now, neither of these runners, having gone to a game 3, is going to feel comfortable with just skipping a potential item anymore.
No, I'm sure that I at this point in the race, you don't want to leave anything behind, which Xirtanul's done a lot of, actually. Now that now you think about it, he did the first 4 chests in Thieves Town and bailed out. Went over to Sahashala, got the big items inside there with the 600 rupees and the Titan's Mitts, didn't go into Eastern, and their gambles have paid off quite well so far.
So Xirtanul getting shut down out of the bow with a piece of heart in the second chest, so this is going to be an empty victory, but a needed one.
Indeed, it is a crystal, so that is the one benefit to it. Otherwise, Meyer had nothing. So it's looking like, unless Book is hiding Bow, Bow was indeed in pod.
I wouldn't mind seeing Bo on something like Bombus or Ether, make him climb back up to Death Mountain yet again.
Just for Zaphod, it would be 1 item location check. They've already checked Spike Cave. Xirtanul, it would be for 2, so they might be more willing to go check Ether than Zaphod would be at this point, simply because they have 2 possible locations to check. I would see them going into pod well before that, though.
We're going to find out pretty soon, as Xirtanul is going to go ahead and head through the basement. Fortunately, he has the lamp, because this is one of those dark room sets that you just don't want to do.
Getting that first room, that switch in the dark, is so hard. It's one of the trickier things to do.
It's something to practice on your own time sometimes. Just grab a standard seed and play around with it. It's definitely good for practice. I see, for some weird reason, that we've made the chat hungry. Let's make them hungry for some Ganon bacon while we're at it.
And use the bacon sword to turn Ganon into bacon.
I am all over that idea.
That sounds good. Bacon on bacon, it's always a good idea. Bacon wrapped bacon.
Well, it is morning time here on the West Coast now, so we can definitely get ourselves a nice, delicious plate of Ganon deep fried bacon.
Mm-mm-mm.
So Xirtanul having a little bit of difficulty with Vitreous, but manages to clear out okay.
Yeah, it takes care of them pretty easily. Got to be a little careful. Not having silvers makes Vitreous a little bit more difficult, but in the end, not having too many problems. That Tempered Sword definitely making relatively quick work as they get their crystal from Vitreous. And once again, apologies for Zaphod's loss on his side. We have a great synchronization from Xirtanul versus Xirtanul.
Now, the really big question is, do you prefer double vision or do you prefer the cone?
And yeah, I would love to have both. Cone into double vision.
Oh, you are evil.
I just, I'm all about everything, enjoying everything. It looks like Xirtanul is going to check Agina's cave. That is something they did. Nope, I don't think either runner has actually checked Agina's cave yet.
Now, this is an interesting play. Did we check this earlier is the question.
I know Xirtanul didn't, and I'm pretty sure Zapha didn't either. Neither runner ever came over this way, never really had any reason. They were never like scrambling for one location or another, and so it's not something that we have seen and still have not seen, as we had a small lag there.
Just a little hiccup there, possibly a cone for Xirtanul as well on top of that head, as that one makes very quick work of Vitreous.
That Butter Sword making all the difference there. And it doesn't look like it was Bo. Xirtanul's not heading straight for pod and stuff. We're going to get a few location checks that Boots opened up.
King's Tomb being something that usually has some sort of value to it randomly.
Well, I mean, some value.
Xirtanul probably not happy about that one.
Not at all.
Zapod finishing, definitely going to mirror back to the light world, and where do we go from here?
They're going to make that same Agina's cave check, so we'll get to see what that item was.
Bog cave getting opened up. We're going to find out what that is right now in about 3, 2, and 1. It is 300 rupees. What a amazing deal.
That, that actually, I believe, was our 5th 300 rupee. We had one early in Kakariko. We had 2 in Sashala's hut. And Xirtanul never checked Lumberjack Cave, so they're gonna see what's here. Wouldn't that be something if this was an Aghanim required seed and they have never checked it until now?
I think my brain would explode at that point, but it looked like it was possibly a shard of a rupee.
Zavod checked it way earlier, and it was just 20 rupees we saw on his screen pretty clearly. So, but man, that would have, for Xirtanul's brain, it would have been an explosion seeing Bo there, if indeed it was Bo. Oh, buddy.
An hour and a half, Aghanim 1 required seed is diabolical at best and completely destructive at worst.
And Xirtanul is checking every overworld location before going into pod without that bow. That is kind of interesting, to be honest.
Looks like Xirtanul's actually going to go check Bombo, so Zaphod's going to go ahead and start clearing out hammer pegs.
Yeah, just Zaphod checking locations that Xirtanul already has at camera pegs, and likely going to see the magic bat afterwards for Zaphod.
Not a bad idea.
Nope.
And
was
the
book blocking bow? Not yet. There's still possible ether check.
The frustration definitely starting to set in an hour and a half from now, though.
Yeah, and Xirtanul definitely. I have to agree with you, Wolflink. It looks like Xirtanul is definitely afraid of that potential bow lock possibility in pod, the extremely minute possibility. But they're going to check everything possible before going into pod.
Magic bat check in about 3, 2, and 1. What do we got today? We have ourselves Quack.
Yeah, that is where Xirtanul got their quack.
Scrooge McDuck be proud.
All right, is the bow in ether?
Shutdown.
Nope. It has to be in pod, I think, at this point. We've seen every other location, haven't we?
Pretty much at this point. This is very, very interesting. Xirtanul's going to go ahead and check the big disappointment that is Spike Cave, but at this point, You just don't want to go into pod unless you know you can full clear it.
Yeah, and for Zaphod, they not having found the bow, not being in go mode, is a blessing in disguise. They're gonna go through all this overworld locations and eventually get their silvers, which is in Graveyard Ledge, because they're gonna check King's Tomb and Graveyard Ledge here just shortly, and that is a blessing in disguise for Zaphod.
Triforce in disguise. We're gonna check that Graveyard Ledge. Not gonna be pleased with the results on this, so it's starting to look like we're gonna have to go into pod no matter what.
I think Zaphod's gonna be very pleased with this. They're gonna find silvers, so I think they'll be very happy to see those silvers.
All depends on whether you like doing silverless more. I can actually relate to that.
Is there somebody that actually likes doing silverless more than silver?
Right here.
Okay then. That is... You are the only person I know at this point. I don't know everybody, but more power to you. And now I'm actually really kind of curious why you like that more.
It's a matter of the flow of the battle. If you can get into a solid rhythm on silverless, it's just impossible to get out of it. There's too many variables with firing off silver arrows and potentially getting Ganon to bump into you on a lamped recheck that just... it's burned me quite often, so yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, Xirtanul is heading into pod, and Zaphod, where are they going now?
And did Zaphod check King's Tomb is the question.
Oh, there's the bow.
Nailed it.
All right, that is go mode for Xirtanul, and 1 hour, 34 minutes, and 4 seconds. Xirtanul went into go mode, and they could have had that bow a long time ago.
Zaph going back into Thieves Town, gonna check the hammer chest and be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, that is not going to be the bow at this point. It is, I mean, the only thing it could be of any benefit is that half magic, but Xirtanul is definitely in go mode, and at this point has a, depending on how long it takes Zaphod to get in there, has a slight and ever-increasing advantage.
Increasing indeed. Zaphod's not gonna like the results of this no matter what. Even if it is half magic, I mean, that's a great benefit to people, but having to go into this dungeon again?
Yeah, it is not what they're going to be wanting to find, and it's not going to make up enough of a difference in this race. The one thing that'll make up a difference is that Butter Sword, but where Xirtanul has Tempered, they need to head to pod now.
It's definitely a non-issue at this point, but with so few options, going to pod is actually probably going to be Zaphod's next play.
Their only other options are checking both Bombos and Ether, which we know has absolutely nothing of value, so they need to go to pod. Of course, we know that not only because that was just a 5 bomb upgrade, but because that is where the bow is.
Xirtanul trying to hunt down that big key as fast as possible. So it's an hour and 35 minutes in, sir. What is your mindset at this point? How far do you think you're behind?
You know, not knowing where the bow is, and Zaphod having done a few extra dives into dungeons, having cleared a lot of places, I wouldn't feel like I'm too terribly far behind. Just simply because of the fact 136 in, it's not at that panic mode yet, but you're also checking all the small little locations. He's probably feels behind, but maybe not terribly far behind.
The mindset behind both of them, Xirtanul, how far am I behind Zaphod? Doesn't exactly know. Oh, there's the red boomerang. That's classic, I guess.
Yeah, and if you're Xirtanul, I would feel more behind. Actually, no, if you're Xirtanul, I would feel almost like I've made great plays throughout the race, and having not done Eastern, not full cleared Thieves Town, you've done a lot, you've skipped out on a lot of possible item checks, and maybe not feeling too far behind.
Xirtanul having a little bit of difficulty there with the bombs being denied by all the octopods right there. Zaphod heading into Death Mountain again. What's in your mind now? Just Aether check by the looks of it.
Yeah, they're doing the same. They have the same idea as Xirtanul. They want to exhaust every option before heading into pod. And, every second they delay going into Palace of Darkness is going to put them even further behind. And to the point where even having Butter will not be able to make up the difference.
Time is running out for our Cone Overlord going into the top 4 as Zaphod finally goes into pod.
And at this point, they are nearly 4 minutes behind. Xirtanul found Bo at 134, roughly 4 seconds. We'll just say 134 flat, makes it a little bit easier. And so is Butter enough to make up 4 minutes worth of time?
I personally don't believe so. King Bulbasaur is actually a really fast kill because you have Silvers.
Yeah, exactly. Silvers will negate Butter advantage on King Helmasaur or Bulbasaur. I like that nickname for him. So that won't be an advantage there. The only advantage will be running through Gauntlet and then, of course, on Ganon, but only for those first 3 phases.
Xirtanul still has about almost a full dungeon lead on Zaphod here as we're getting ready to head on up to the wonderful Ganon Tower shortly. Hold those guesses for just a moment, though.
Get your guesses ready. We'll be heading there. And, of course, it can come down to left, right side in Ganon's Tower on top of Butter. Could give Zaphod an advantage enough to get back, as Zaphod is now officially in go mode, folks. Both runners are now in go mode. 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 57 seconds for Zaphod, nearly 5 minutes behind.
This is going to be quite the thing. King Bulbasaur just having a health refill right at the end there, just for the kick in the pants.
More hearts for the runners that have 16 hearts apiece.
Yeah, but if you were counting heart pieces and you actually got that drop in here instead of in Ganon's Tower when you could possibly need it, though, just makes you feel that slight bit more salty.
Yeah, for sure. All right, folks, as Xirtanul has picked up their 7th crystal, and you know what time it is, there are 22 chests inside of Ganon's Tower where the big key could possibly be. Guesses 1 through 22 will be accepted, and of course, locations. I personally am going to go with chest number 11, or what I usually ends up being for me, the top left top left chest in Randomizer room. Get your guesses in. You have until Xirtanul gets into the Ganon's Tower. Lyra, where is your guess?
Is this key sanity or is this just open?
This is just open.
Okay, so it's not on Armos. Alright. My guess is normally either 14 or 15. I like saying 15 just because it makes you do Ice Armos.
All right. So you're going 15 with a full left side clear, and Xirtanul's going to head over towards Turtle Rock. Kind of an interesting route to get up here. I was kind of confused where they were heading first.
Xirtanul going to go ahead and take the Death Mountain Turtle Rock portal in. That's a very interesting strategy.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting way to head up the mountain to get to the dark portal, but it gets them there all the same, so they will shortly be entering Ganon's Tower.
Now Zaphod still hunting for that. Oh, did we get the big key?
No, Zaphod did not get the big key. They did the left side and then went full right side, went back and did the vanilla big key chest. They're heading down, following the same path that Xirtanul did, actually. Both runners making the same decisions. Zaphod will very shortly find their big key.
Now Xirtanul heading in at 141.30. Now it's time where Zaphod's going to enter in at and see how far of a difference we've got.
Yep, that will definitely be the big time difference check as Zaphod picks up their Prina Burna and another small key in the U-shaped room, which Xirtanul did not go to because they went to the statue room first. First chest is a piece of heart and a small key, and Xirtanul is going right side with that small key.
So tell me, sir, do you like going right side first, or do you like going left, or do you like those crazy Dark Magician strats?
I like going left all the way first. I have rarely made the decision to go right. I mostly just because I suck at this room. I'm really bad at it. Like at least twice every time I try to do it, I mess it up. So it's just time wasted for me. And if it ends up being on the right side, well, that sucks. But I like going left mostly. I feel like it's just there's more possibilities over here. And while this isn't like as big of a gamble as it used to feel like it was, I like going all the way left. What about you, sir?
Sir is a weird word for me. It's definitely the better word for you, sir. Now,
I did not even think about that when you called me sir.
that's perfectly fine. Now, for me, in my thought process, I always go right side first, unless I'm key locked.
Okay, man, and that's totally fair. I don't think there's. It's hard to say if there's really a right or wrong. It's all based off the seed. As we have now gone through 6 chests and no big key, and Bob will live as we find 20 rupees on the torch. So that is location number 7 for us.
Opposites attract, right?
Indeed.
So, now that we have the commands in chat, if you like what you're seeing tonight from these runners who are putting it all on the line for a guaranteed shot at our next tournament, please follow these runners and show them your love and support.
Yes, indeed. They put on quite the show, and one will be advancing to the top 4 in this secondary tournament, while the other one has put on an amazing show in this entire tournament, having made it to the top 8. Still, no big key as we found that was chest 8, 9, 10, and 11. Heading to the firebar room, and there's chest number 12 with another small key.
I definitely applaud both of these runners for getting a lot farther than I did in this tournament. I didn't make it out of groups.
And just competing is awesome for anybody, and just for anybody advancing, it's pretty incredible. And I would not have done very well had I actually entered. I have gotten a little bit better, but I'm still not quite at the point where I feel comfortable even competing yet. I'm getting there. But Zaphod takes down the Helmasaur King and picks up their heart piece for their troubles, and has their final crystal and will be heading towards Ganon.
So we're still hunting for that big key. Yeah, to all the people that are in the chat and watching this on the VODs, please join the community. It's a lot of fun, and it doesn't matter your skill level.
Yeah, and no matter what, even though I myself have not raced, there's plenty of people that are new to it that have raced and have had plenty of fun doing it. It's all for fun. So there's, I believe, chest number 13, 14, 15, and 16, if I have been counting correctly. No big key yet.
So shutdown in Rando room. It looks like we're gonna have Ice Armos after all.
Yeah, we got one more location before that in Bob's chest, and then it's the 3 behind Ice Armos, and then Tile Room.
Now Tile Room is the best troll possible.
Oh, it really is. Doing that early on would be a gamble, because it takes so much time for one location.
So interesting strat I've seen develop over the tournament. Ooh, Xirtanul accidentally picked up the second skull. We're gonna have to bomb jump across instead.
Well done, well done.
Definitely a strat that some people need to practice more than others. But hey, I'm pretty bad at it too.
Hey, there's our bombos. And
So
that
we're
was
finally
chest
going to Ice
18.
Armos.
After Ice Armos is chest 19, 20, and 21 for Xirtanul, as Zaphod is about to enter Ganon's tower for us.
People in chat pointing out it's about a 5-minute, 10-second difference. Oh, there's the big key.
Vanilla big key location for Xirtanul at chest number 19. Who was closest to number 19?
I know I wasn't. I had 15 though. That's usually a pretty strong, safe, average guess for how trolly these seeds tend to be.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I'll have to see if it was indeed the closest, as Zaphod looks like there did the 2 on the right and heading straight left.
Zaphod seeing that wonderful 20 on the chest for Bob there. Xirtanul making their way through the gauntlets. Still quite a bit of a difference, but we're going to see some pretty crazy gauntlet strats here. Game 3 all on the line. You definitely want to hammer that execution as best as possible.
Oh, for sure. And now for Zaphod, they're going to make up a little bit of time, not having gone all the way to the right. Now, if they had decided to go all the way right, that would have made up a lot of time because you can get to Ice Armos faster if you go complete right side. Actually, they are doing Dark Magician strats for Zaphod.
That's going to put Zaphod even further behind. That's truly unfortunate for those of us who are wanting a neck-to-neck race.
Yeah. If they decide to go all the way right and straight to Armos Knights, they'll make up a pretty significant amount of time not going all the way left.
So, interesting about here, Xirtanul is choosing to use silver arrows and just regular sword swings. How do you handle the gauntlet?
You know, I tend to use silver arrows a lot too, and sword strings. I try to dash if I can time it right, but I always seem to mess up my dash timings and never get anybody. I've seen some people use the fire rod, especially if you have half magic, which works really well with that half magic, but some people are really good at just going through with their swords and slashing away.
I think it depends on the item levels you have. If you just have Master Sword, it's not as fun going through the gauntlets.
Master Sword just sucks if that's all you have.
like
Regardless of where you're at in the game.
Ether strats are definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, that is true. And now we get to see Xirtanul use the Cane of Samaria in the most absolutely beautiful ways, taking care of the Wizrobes. It's one of the most satisfying things, getting both of those rooms in one go.
Flawless execution there. This is truly worthy of a game 3 going into the top 4.
Oh yeah, and Zaphod indeed making that gamble going full right, taking a fall there.
Now, going full right, do you go to Ice Armos immediately, or are you going to backtrack yet again? If Zaphod chooses to go to Ice Armos, that's going to pick up a little bit of time too.
Yeah, and they are definitely looking like that's exactly where they're heading. They don't have too many other locations. Oh, getting trolled by the jelly.
Those octopods carrying for nobody's business. There's not too many things that tend to work on them either.
No, at least you can stun them with that hook shot. Good usage of that. And yeah, that definitely looks like Zaphod is heading straight for the Armos Knights through the right side, which indeed is the right play. It'll help them make up a little bit of time, but they need to make up a lot of time. They need to execute really well. That Butter Sword will help take some advantage away, but Xirtanul is on Moldorm 2.
And a couple short things for Moldorm 2. 149.50 for Moldorm 2 kill.
Yeah, and there's a third bottle, and it is empty, so that would have been nice had it been a big one as Xirtanul quakes the validation chest.
I've seen a lot of runners do various things to the validation chest, but I've never seen someone quake it before. That is really funny.
That was pretty fantastic. And usually you don't see him do that kind of stuff if they have not seen a dot done yet. If this was a close race, that could have been a risky move as Zaphod gets their big key and is now heading up the tower.
Xirtanul heading into the wonderful Agnum 2 at 150. Zaphod just starting the gauntlet, making pretty decent work of it though.
Yeah, he's going to have to make really great work as they are definitely behind at this point. This is definitely Xirtanul's race to lose. They just got to have a clean Aghanim 2 and a clean Ganon fight, which with Silvers and Tempered Sword shouldn't be too much of a problem. But crazy things happen in these races, excuse me.
Xirtanul shutting down Aghanim 2 at 151.07. This is the final push. With only 2 bottles, do you go down and grab a safety fairy right here?
With 17 hearts, 16 of which are actually filled, and red mail, tempered sword, silvers, and 1 blue potion still in reserves, not a chance.
I don't know, Ganon hugs can be pretty brutal.
Yeah, you'd have to have a lot of Ganon hugs at this point. They don't have any type of safety to be able to go through the other phases earlier, but with Tempered Sword, shouldn't be too much of a problem. Zaphod making pretty decent work of the gauntlets so far. Still have a long ways to go to catch up. We'll see if Xirtanul makes any mistakes on this Ganon fight.
Xirtanul on phase 2 of Ganon. A lot of bacon swings and just 1 set of fire bats. Looks like we're gonna go straight to phase 3.
Yeah, that Tempered Sword making very quick work of Ganon, and at this point, it's going to take a miracle for Zaphod, for Xirtanul needs to fall a couple times.
I would say 2 falls at this point, but I don't think Xirtanul's having any of that. As we're going to go ahead and start phase 4.
Yes, indeed. And there's 1 hit already, getting an early quick, and you're going to make sure he gets that torch glitch.
We might have a double right here.
There is 3 total hits, and here's our 4th and final hit for Xirtanul. Just got to make it across the bridge, and that is Game 3 win for Xirtanul. Let's see if they make it across.
You never know. People have fallen to this before, but I don't think Xirtanul's going to have any of that either. Let's get some GGs in the chat for thwarting our cone overlords, as Xirtanul finishes with an official SRL time of 1:53.01. Congratulations.
Yeah, big time congratulations for Xirtanul, getting the Game 3 win and advancing to the top 4 in this secondary tournament. Fantastic race for it. Really, I mean, both runners raced very fantastically. Just those small decisions on Xirtanul's side to not go into Eastern, to not finish Thieves Town, that's what made the difference.
In your thought process, searching for needed items, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it ended up not being the right thing today.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of what we said early on. Like, gambles are, you know, where in Randomizer, where games are won and lost. And in this case, Zaphod's decision to full clear those dungeons was not bad. It's something that probably I'd say 9 out of 10 runners does. Xirtanul just was going as fast as he can, doing anything that was things that were not necessary, was avoiding it. Only did the first 4 chests inside of Thieves Town, never stepped foot inside of Eastern Palace, and you know, that's our time difference. That's where our time difference is, especially since Zaphod made 2 trips into Thieves Town.
That was definitely the nail biter right there, was the going into Thieves Town twice, as we welcome in a certain somebody.
Hey guys.
Well, congratulations.
There he is. Congratulations, Xirtanul, on getting that Game 3 win and advancing to the top 4.
Thank you very much.
Want to tell us a bit about your thought process going through all that?
Well, kinda felt extremely behind after that ice play mishap without magic. But oh man, this seed. I expected it to be close, but I just read that he was in upper part G tower, so this was insane, insanely close.
Yeah, I know, it's really close. He's just about to head into Aghanim 2, so he's really not that far behind. He entered into Ganon's tower about 5 minutes behind, I believe, is about where we timed it at. The biggest difference in this seed was you decided not to finish Thieves Town, and you decided not to go into Eastern Palace, while Zaphod did both of those. And that's really where the big time difference in this seed was.
Yeah, well, basically, I went into Thieves Town, I found the hookshot, I think it was, and I was like, well,
yep.
the hammer is required, so I might as well just save and quit, and I could go Hera and maybe T-Rock after, since in the last 2 seeds we had Bo being in T-Rock, so I just took that gamble. But for like the remainder of the seed, those 2 chests in Thieves Town just kept staring at me. So
yeah,
I was really happy when I found that Bo being in pod.
So, curiosity, what made you think that Eastern Palace wasn't the right play?
I really don't know. I can't really tell you the answer. I was going in and, well, I just ran there. I was like, well, I found Mitz on Sahashla, let's just keep on going and see what I find. And I just kept on finding progress, so I just, well, followed the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, and
the right call for sure.
They were the right breadcrumbs to follow.
So how did you feel about left side swamp not having anything of value? Did you feel like going over there wasn't the best ideas?
I was actually happy somehow that I saw 2 items being there, because swamp is usually one of those places, even when it's well pendant, that you could get an item there, you'd never know what. And I thought after flute, I was like, I'm not gonna pull a T-Rock again like yesterday, so I just decided to full clear it.
And of course, T-Rock was really, it was a bust. The only item, which was super funny because both races for both of you, it was a massive play in both of the previous seats. So in this seed, like both of you made that same decision as soon as it was available. You both went straight into it, and there was nothing there. Just powder on Tranix, which led to nothing.
Well, it led to Quake, which had me believe, like, well, if my year is Quake, then I think I made up for my Ice Palace mishap. But then again, Quake was absolutely worthless.
Yeah, indeed it was. And of course you got Bombos in Bob's chest, which, again, we didn't need that.
I wish I had that in Ice Palace.
Oh, I know. We talked about that. That was definitely tough, and that was one difference, obviously, in time where Zaphod actually has Butter Sword. They got that in Eastern Palace. And they got Shovel in Eastern Palace, which is two of the items there, and the Butter Sword being the only really good one. But where you had Temper Sword, it wasn't really much of a difference maker.
Yeah, I was actually surprised at all these swords I found early game with my weird routing.
Yeah, early swords, and under a sub 20, I think, was Butter Sword. And just real quick, Zaphod has finished the race in second place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 7 seconds. So just barely 5-minute difference, and that was with a little bit of fun play from Zaphod towards the end there. But GG's to Zaphod on the great race and great tournament. Once again, give both of our runners a follow. They have put on quite the show for us.
Oh, definitely. By the way, that quaking the validation chest.
Yeah, we agreed on medallioning the validation chest, and I was like, well, I have Quake, and I haven't used it yet, so might as well do that.
Always a solid play since it's definitely one of the faster of the medallions.
But yeah, the fun part was we were talking before the seed, and I was just saying, well, wouldn't it be funny if T-Rock had absolutely nothing? And then we killed.
And it didn't.
So, as I recall from the previous evening, Zaphod does not have a mic, but might join us in chat for a few more questions too.
But yeah, I mean, I was extremely happy when I found that bowl, because then I knew that Eastern wasn't required, and, well, I know Zaphod likes to do it, so I thought I just made up a lot of time there.
It ended up being an amazing call, not even going anywhere near it.
Yeah, and something, when you, like, obviously we got to the point where Bo had to be in pod. When you saw it in that very first chest, what was your initial thought? Like, oh man, I could have been here a long time ago, or like, what were you thinking right then?
I actually wasn't thinking. I was like, well, I'm in go mode. Let's just run through it. I mean, Zaphod hasn't finished yet, and well, judging by the last 2 races, he's a really good runner. So I just hoped that he didn't go into pod just yet.
Yeah, and I think both of you made the decision not to go into pod because at the time when it would have been really good routing, neither of you had hammer or bow, and so it would have been, you know, while you wouldn't have been able to finish it because you didn't have hammer yet, you would have had bow, which would have kept you from chasing and checking all the extra overworld locations looking for it. So it's kind of one of those things where you never really want to find bow and pod, but it happens somewhat frequently.
Well, I'd rather have it there than being in like another chest where we could have been bow locked, because the bow lock section had 2 small keys, so there was that small possibility.
That's a good point. So now that you have advanced to the top 4, once again, congratulations on that, and also congratulations on the automatic qualification into next main tournament. So congratulations on that. How are you feeling going forward?
Well, I'm just extremely stoked about this. I did not expect to win this. Well, apparently after my Ice Palace misplay, and well, like I said, Zaphod being an extremely good opponent, I really thought I had lost it at that point.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, had you decided to go into Thieves Town full clear Thieves Town, or maybe gone into Eastern Palace, that might have been something that would have cost you the race. But because of those decisions not to go in there, those small gambles, it gave you a little bit of a buffer for that. Really, that was the only mistake you had all race.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like my routing was quite decent, and I was really, really happy with that hammer find on Moldorm. I was actually thinking, well, if I get Hammer in Hera, I can just immediately do T-Rock and get my bow. But yeah, I could do T-Rock, but didn't find anything. But still, that's one crystal that was out of the way.
Yeah, and both of you had the same mindset going up that way. They're like, well, I have everything else for Turtle Rock except for the hammer, and might as well do Terra Hera, and then you get the hammer. Oh, hey, that's great.
And of course, every fetch quest in this game being an absolute bust as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like to say though, thank you for, well, staying up again in like this ungodful hour. I think it's like 4 AM or something for you guys, so thanks for commentating. And
it's
also,
not too bad.
DT, thanks for, well, yet another DT seed, and of course, well, restreaming at last minute. And our tracker, I think it's Dustin, if I paid attention or not.
Yeah, it was Sabo Tender.
Oh, Sabo Tender. Well, yeah, he's been there for the hat trick as well, so I think he enjoyed clicking those buttons all the time.
Yeah, and so I do have one. I have one final question for you. Looking ahead, we don't know who it's going to be yet, but you are racing either Aaron Doby or Uzipone. What are your thoughts on either of those guys?
I've seen races from both of them, and well, they both have really good routing and execution, so I'm guessing that it'll be a really, really fun race to play. And of course, well, it's going to be a real tight one. It's just going to be decided by, well, Rando, I guess, just making right decisions at right times.
So I would definitely say go ahead and keep to your guns, because that's what won you this race, and congratulations again on that.
Yeah, and you know that your very unique early routing continues to pay off for you. It seems like it always seems to really pay out. It's kind of an interesting thing. It's very different than most anybody does, and it always pays out really well for you. I haven't seen one time watching you race where it really was a major bust.
I was actually really happy this time because, well, I did my mini Moldorm and I immediately had flippers and the money to go to Zora, so I was like, wait, this is actually the most perfect setup for a Houlihan route.
Yes, indeed it was.
It didn't give me anything, but it did give me the information about the lamp being on the Hylia Island, which also meant that Aghanim was not required to go into the Dark World.
Yeah.
So as we get ready to go to bed, yeah, it's about 1:30 in the morning here. Is there anything you guys want to say?
No, just the shout out to commentary, restreamer, tracker, and of course Zaphod for, well, making it this far and being an incredible opponent. And of course for the viewers to have some late night or early morning rando.
Yeah, and according to Twitch, we currently have about 330 viewers, so it's a pretty good turnout for this early or late hours, depending on where you're located. So you guys put on quite the great race for them. And I just, once again, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our restreamer in the name of TT for stepping in for us, and Sabatender for tracking. And of course, both runners, fantastic race. It was quite the pleasure being able to commentate this for you guys. I have been Sir Laugh-A-Lot, and I will leave the final words with my co-commentator.
Alright, this has been Lyra, and when the Triforce breaks, Ganon will fall, and down will come Link, Master Sword and all. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Or morning for most of you now.